Adam, it's the only time we have ever said on this podcast that if you live in jurisdiction X, you should just keep betting offshore. Like you should just keep doing it because there's no reason for you to enter the legal market. But that's what we said when DC legalized. It was the biggest joke of a launch that we've ever seen. It was the most off-market, off-brand, off-craziness that we've ever seen in any sort of launch when it came to lines and markets and all the things that were going on out there. But DC slowly started to get their act together a little bit. And now, if you do live in DC, it looks like there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Slowly started to get their act together might be the nicest thing that you can say about how DC ultimately decided to make changes to its sports betting market. Recall the fact that DC started out with a single operator model, right? They decided to go with only one mobile sports betting operator. And instead of going with any of the established or upcoming operators, they decided to stick with their lottery provider, Intralot, for a product called Gambet DC. And this turned out to be maybe the single biggest failure in legal sports betting over the course of Gambet DC's, let's say, ignominious tenure as the only platform in DC. We were seeing that when it was William Hill and then Caesars, that a physical sports book where the Capitals and the Wizards play was consistently outpacing the online app in terms of handle from DC residents. Why? Because the odds and the usability were that bad for Gambet DC. And when I'm talking about the odds, I'm not saying, oh, well, there was a nickel difference in a line, right? This isn't 110 versus 115. This is your standard sides being offered at minus 140, minus 150. And people who have any serious interest in betting looking and saying, no, the tipping point for me in terms of will I walk down to a kiosk versus will I place this bet in my underwear is placing an extra $30 or $40 on a $100 wager to make the same bet. I'm just not doing that. It's also the same app that crashed during the Super Bowl. And so even if you wanted to bet from home, you didn't have the option. So what we've seen now is Council Member Kenyon McDuffie push through a change via the DC sports betting, through the budget process for sports betting in DC that is eventually going to open up this market to more operators. What it does in the short term is FanDuel is established as the new preferred operator in DC, but it also will give the sports franchises, which have been able in the past to make deals with sports betting operators, but then only offer their app within a 2-block geofenced radius of their stadium. Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Should now be able to do this district-wide. It could be up to 7 of those. So you're finally going to see a modern competitive market in Washington, D.C., which, Matt, I don't know if you know this, is a pretty high per capita area in terms of income.
Yeah, and there's more people in D.C., I think, than people realize as well. And so this is huge. It's big news and also just good for the consumer. We talk about this all the time. Like, having options is good. Being able to make people do the right thing is good. And when there's only one option and there's only one thing out there, sometimes people don't make the right choice, and that's what we saw for sure with Gambet.